Okay, so we're not going to talk too much about the FTC leak and the various PDFs, but one thing that did actually sort of spring to mind was comments from Activision that they were briefed on Switch 2 last year, and Bobby Kotick is saying that basically we're looking at last-gen level performance, PS4 style, which I think would be, not bad for a mobile device. But the point is, I think that is only a fraction of what these new machines, what these new handhelds actually offer. Wouldn't you agree, Oliver?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting quote that nonetheless doesn't totally align with what we think we know about the Switch 2. Because, just as one example, could a PS4 play a game like Breath of the Wild at an effective 4K 60 resolution, right? Which is the rumor about the Switch 2. The Switch isn't rendering a 4K pixel grid on every frame, presumably. It's using DLSS. But I don't think in terms of a visual output that the PS4 could match that on the same level, even if the PS4 was capable of 4K visual output. Likewise for Matrix Awakens, maybe there's a version of that could run on last-gen hardware, but certainly in anything like its current state, that demo is not running on a PlayStation 4. So in terms of the raw hardware horsepower, I would suspect the Switch 2 could be falling in line with the capabilities of a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, but I don't really think in terms of the actual rendering power the Switch 2 might bring to the table in terms of offering DLSS, bringing that to the table. I think the Switch 2 should be able to outperform those consoles, at least in scenarios where the technology is being effectively used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could argue that the Steam Deck is broadly comparable to a last-gen console, and yet we've got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart running really well on it, which definitely wouldn't happen on a last-gen console. And fundamentally, it's not just about sort of GPU horsepower. There's a lot more that goes into the makeup of a console, and obviously the CPU is important, but obviously the storage is important as well, right? And solid state storage is a game changer for the current generation, and it is opening the door to more experiences on the Steam Deck, and so it will on the Switch 2. The other thing which we can be pretty certain about is that the Switch 2 has the same hardware decompression technology, or similar hardware decompression technology to the current generation of consoles, which is going to have a radical impact on loading times.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this, Alex? I mean, fundamentally, I think it sort of ignores some of the lessons learned even from the original Switch, which is that it doesn't really matter what the level of horsepower is. Features play a big part too. I mean, that Maxwell class GPU basically was a modern GPU, and therefore opened the door to ports of games that had no business running on it.
Yeah, right. And as we saw, I mean, there's a lot of things like that. If it is Ampere, it's got like hardware VRS, it's got DLSS, it's got ray tracing, it's got all the advances that have happened to the DirectX 12 model since then baked into the hardware. Things that Xbox One and PS4 definitely don't have at all. Has access to a lot more RAM, usable RAM, most likely. I think that's the one part of the leak that there isn't a good idea of yet necessarily, how much system memory
the rumor is there's going to be 12 gigs of memory. I've also heard 8. This isn't really confirmed at the moment.
Yeah, so like there's all those things, there's so much that is making that Switch so much better. And I think also it's not just a low-end Maxwell thing, like you said with the original Switch, where there we saw presentations and examples from developers like Rebellion, who would go the extra mile and do really low level work that you're just not going to get out of a PC or an Android part at that point. So
Okay, I think we just have to wait and see what they're going to come up with, but I'm hoping for surprises. I am indeed. In fact, here it is. This Dell laptop here has RTX 2050, which is the weakest Ampere GPU money can buy. And I'm having fun experimenting with it. I've managed to get it down into sort of what you'd expect the GPU clocks for a Switch 2 to be like. And I'm going to be starting on that content pretty much when this direct finishes. So, we're going to have some interesting fun and games with that.